You mentioned it off air, but Antonio Cromartie Jr., class of 2025 defensive back, somebody that, a lot of people wanted to come to Florida State. He's a ball player. If you put on the tape, he's got a nose for the football. You definitely see the tutelage there from his dad and kind of some of those genes in play. But he was kind of undersized, 5'9", 5'10", but he just keeps growing. His dad said that he was like 2 inches taller than the services even had him a couple of weeks ago on James Coleman's podcast over there on Den Media Group. And sure enough, apparently he grew like 2 more inches over the summer. He's at 6'1", I believe, maybe 180, 190. But, hearing his dad talk, he thinks he could get up to 205 and play around then. So, yeah, you even see there on 247, they still have him listed 5'11", 170, but he's closer to 180, 185, 6'1" now. So some people will say just it's because of the extended roster. You no longer have walk-ons anymore. You have 105 slots, but, Pat Surtain is extremely chintzy when it comes to his defensive backs. As you can tell by him not really going after anybody in the portal outside of maybe a safety or two, and the kind of elite talent he got there to kind of carry the previous recruiting class with like 7 or 8 blue chip defensive backs. A lot of young talent coming up, and it'd be great to see if Cromartie Jr. can make an impact, and he has the size and all the measurables to do it at this point.
I'm doing a little reminiscing here. I'm going back on his old man's NFL stats because, man, he could play. He was in the league for 11 years, and he intercepted 31 passes, led the league his second season with 10 picks.
What a time for DB play back then, too. He came in and was just the man for like 11 years. But you had Revis Island. You had, a couple other guys who were the best for a while, but he had a good 2 or 3 year stretch where I think he was the best corner in all of college football. He got that first team All-Pro one of those years. They call him the prototype for a reason. He had, if you were going to cook up what an elite defensive back could possibly be, that's who you cook up.
So Florida State fans hope that you get that second dose, that second generation of Antonio Cromartie, anything close to what the first edition was, because, yeah, he was special and he was fun to watch. No doubt about it. And again, I love stats, and I haven't heard that name in forever. So as soon as I saw that about 45 minutes before we recorded, and then you went into the breakdown of Junior, I just wanted to go back and look at the stats with the Chargers and the Jets. And again, led the league in interceptions his second year. So good stuff there on the high school front. And now, like you mentioned to me before we went live, to try to track down all the high school recruits that this staff is looking at is going to be nearly impossible. I don't know what you've got in regards to any particular guys that you would like to review, or any hot takes on anything. But you said Junior Day is coming up. Yeah.
I've been teasing it on the show. I've been, we were really invested in the portal and all the moves and the coaching staff. It's tough, like you said. I've been pushing back these 2026 kids for a long time. It's one of those things, like, it's really hard to believe that the class of 2026, that's recruiting right now. That's what's going on. Like, the traditional signing day hasn't passed, but there's very few of those 25 battles left. We'll talk about them in a minute, but yeah, this Friday, the 18th, FSU has, I'd say, over 100 people coming. I'm not sure if that's all like starred recruits exactly, but pretty much anybody that they're after, they've offered, is coming either this weekend, starting on Friday the 18th, or the following 25th. These big junior days that Mike Norvell has, a lot of momentum, a lot of stuff going. So we'll get into that Friday as guys start, showing up on campus and pointing out the biggest names and who the staff's really getting after. When that day comes, so look forward to that Friday at 7 Eastern. But circling back before I get too far ahead of myself, there are a couple 2025 guys to continue to keep an eye on. 4 of them to be exact. Chastan Brown is the one I'll mention first, because everywhere I've been on here on our show saying I pretty much think he's almost like a silent commit for FSU. He's not, taking other visits. He's not entertaining other schools from what I've seen. Anytime something happens good for FSU, he's tweeting with a bunch of, shish kebab emojis and all that good stuff. It really seems like he's locked in with Herb Hand and the staff. He was previously committed to UCF. He's 6'7", 260-pound offensive tackle. I'm not sure. Top 50 offensive lineman in the country. I'm not sure exactly where he ranks right off the top of my head as my dogs tear up the house. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm about to have to holler at him. But yeah, I think Chastan Brown is somebody who could pencil into this class and would be a huge pickup, a huge addition in rebuilding that room to go along with Sean Perret out of South Georgia, and also Mario Nash, another guy that could possibly play some tackle or guard, depending on how it works out at Florida State. And another guy that's received, I forgot to mention, Chastan Brown, and according to me saying I think he's a lot, I think 2 or 3 crystal balls from other people have finally rolled in. Seemed like they were slow playing that one for a while, but 2 or 3 people, I believe, have put their crystal balls in. And another guy that got some crystal balls is a guy named Chavez Thompson, currently committed to FIU. He's a 3-star offensive line that was committed to Oregon for some time before. Twitter's going to Twitter, and people are going to question anybody you take. Since Herb Hand's got here, and you just heard me talking about Chastan Brown, we already know the 2 tackles he brought in, 6'7", 6'5", beefed up the entire offensive line, everybody over 300 pounds except for the center. Herb Hand is a measurable guy. Like, this isn't another Alex Atkins. He's going to go out and get guys. It's not going to be one guy over 6'5" in 5 years and Lucas Simmons with Herb Hand. But for whatever reason, this is a guy they were recruiting at UCF. A lot of schools are recruiting, currently committed to FIU. He's 6'1", 310 pounds, which is just, that's not numbers you see every day. And you expect somebody to be a mess at that weight, but you throw on the tape and the dude, he initiates contact and he blows up blockers. And he's one of those guys that we'll see if he can supersede it. I haven't talked to Herb Hand. We talked about this with CJ Wilson from Dope Talk on our channel last night. Like, is this a guy they're taking because they have 105 spots and he can be a culture guy? Are you just getting bodies, like I said, to try to reset this room? You've already brought 4 guys into the portal. You bring another 4 guys out of high school. All of a sudden, you can really reset a culture and not give guys an opportunity to think, oh, well, I'm not going to start, but I'll still be the first guy off the bench. I can still loaf or whatever the case may be. They got to love this guy's attitude, and we'll see how it turns out. But I'd say Chavez Thompson and Chastan Brown are really good odds of getting added to this 2025 class. It's already, I believe, top 15. It changes. It moves up and down, maybe top 20, 18th or something like that, if you look at the overall. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. There's a couple other names that I'm not so confident on. Names that Florida State's been involved with for a long time, for years, with the other staff, pretty much had written off, the tackle, Ty Hawood out of Texas. He was committed to Bama, but it's been known for months that he was just holding that there for a flip or whatever the case may be. He was moving on to bigger and better things. Michigan's been the favorite for a while. I've completely wrote it off. But it keeps getting brought up. Beat writers kids keep asking the kid, and I believe he's making a visit to Florida State sometime in the coming weeks. I don't know if they have an official left. I believe it'd have to be an unofficial visit if I'm not mistaken. But Herb Hand and the staff, the guys they've identified and really went after, they've landed. So I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility, but with Barstool and bringing together all the money over there at Michigan to sign Bryce Underwood on top of the momentum they had before they beat Ohio State and then Alabama back-to-back to end the year, it's going to be really tough. But yeah, that's something that's going on. The staff is after him, actively continue to consider that one. The next one that I think is maybe possible, still pretty low chance. I'm not going to put a percentage point on it. If I did, it'd be somewhere around a third or less at this point. But they really made a good impression on Zahir Mathis when they got him on campus last weekend, somebody that they've been pushing for, was previously committed to Ohio State. Now Michigan, again, is in it. Any number of schools could reach back and get on him. The crystal balls, as I kind of learned last night on air, that are in for him were like the ones that were previous to him committing to Ohio State before the flip and things of that nature. So take that with a grain of salt. Look out for a Michigan team to be a favorite here. But they've already got, a loaded class, a defensive line class. Obviously, they're killing it right now. we'll see. Maybe they can talk him into being the guy. Somebody like Kevin Wynn, that's obviously going to be, probably second on the depth chart at the zero technique the second he gets here. I'm not, possibly he could be somebody they sell on being that next great edge rusher, defensive end in this scheme. So we'll see there. More hope there. I think there's a good chance you could possibly get two out of these, or 3 out of these 4, excuse me. But more likely you get the 2 offensive linemen in Chastan Brown and Chavez Thompson. But man, if you could grab in Zahir, this is a guy that moves you up a spot or 2 in the rankings. Same thing with Hawood, but guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I just long road to hoe over there with the talented tackle.
2 highly prized guys there at the end, definitely in Hawood and Mathis. So if Florida State could get one of those, and so again, you're feeling a little bit better about Mathis than you are Hawood.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the consensus around the Florida State beat timeline and everything else there. Still not I'm not ready to put in a crystal ball, but with pot roast and kind of the guys they've brought in already, and Florida State didn't get near as far away on defense as they did on offense. We've already brought in guys that are going to tackle, that are going to start at tackle and things of that nature. Probably a little harder on Hawood and just how much money he's worth, but Mathis, they feel like there's a real chance there. However the NIL works behind the scenes, I don't want to incriminate or say anything like that, but they'll get a good number and hopefully we'll have a shot with him. We'll keep you updated, but I wouldn't lose too much sleep over Hawood for the time being, that's for sure.